Alan, thank you very, very much. And thanks so very, very much to all of you for coming today. I've been looking forward to this day for a long, long time, and I just cannot thank you guys enough for coming, whether from near or from far, to be with us. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful day. Actually, when I look over these 50 years of VIA, there are three characteristics of VIA that really come to me to the fore. The fact that we are small, that we're private, and we're entrepreneurial. And I'd like to talk about how those three factors have led us to our latest country in Asia, variously called Burma or Myanmar. Now, I was going to pause here because Cliff Chan advised me that I had better tell you once what I've been doing during the 9 years since I retired from VIA, rather than individually tell you 40 or 50 different times. Actually, Alan has really done it for me, for which I thank you. Actually, I had some slides for that, so I'll just run through those really briefly, so you'll get some little sense of the kind of people I was dealing with. These students who go on these programs to Southeast Asia are just really wonderful people. They're open-minded, they're eager, they really want to be a part of the international community. And we started this as a Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore program, a comparative cultures or a critical issues program, but added a Burma program. There's now a civil society in Thailand program too. And of course, when these great people go there, there are a lot of interesting people for them to be meeting with. They spend a lot of time talking with their peers. Some of this is silly, low-grade talking, but a lot of it is really deep talking too, and those are really valued by people. When we visit homes, we have a chance to meet with some of the youngest members of the Southeast Asia. We're going to go on to Burma. Which, as you can quickly tell, is one of the most photogenic places you can possibly find. And for those of you who have been in Southeast Asia, as many of you have, you know that that region is filled with wonderfully warm, hospitable people. And if anything, I think this is even more true for Burma, because Burma has been cut off from the larger world for years and years and years. And so they're all the more welcoming to people who are going there. One of the things you quickly find is that the Buddhist faith has played such an important part in this nation. These beautiful temples which you find everywhere. You go into, are we working here? Patrick, help. If I do this, okay, will that do it? Okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, these beautiful temples everywhere. If you go into a Buddhist family, you'll quickly find that every boy or young man in that family sometime is going to enter a monastery as a novice monk, whether for a week or a month or a year. We went past one, but this is an interesting photo. Chad Morse calls this the monk mobile. And I bring it up here just to make the point that this country, while a military dictatorship for many, many years, you would see very few military people, very few police, but you would see monks everywhere. Let's see how we're going forward. Okay. There is one important point to know about Burma that most people don't know, and that is that, let me move this here. If you go back 60 years, all of Southeast Asia was at a fairly low development point. Burma at that time, surprisingly, was arguably the richest nation in Southeast Asia. It was the world's largest exporter of rice, had teak, had gems, had oil, had gas. This country was positioned to grow and grow and grow until a military coup came in 1962. And then from that time on, while every other Southeast Asian nation was going up the development ladder, Burma was going down. to the point where now it's one of the 2 least developed nations in all of Asia. Every Burmese knows this, and this is a subject of great humiliation and shame for everyone there. As you know, the country has made a lot of change in just a very, very short time. And though I've been going there often, I know of no single person in Burma who expected any of this change to be taking place. To be sure, the military government began talking of a change to a new kind of democracy. But they made it very clear this was going to be a military kind of democracy. And so no one really expected very, very much. 2 years, 5 days back, this new supposedly civilian government came into power. And these are the guys who were to lead them. All military people. This fellow here in black, the new president. He had been one of the 5 leading generals just the day before. So expectations were very, very low. Well, this man, Thein Sein, turned out to be a reformer, a role that absolutely no one expected. He began talking about big change. Labor unions allowed for the first time in decades. A press that previously had been completely held down was allowed to be somewhat more free and became more and more free with every passing month. Civil society suddenly had a chance to grow. So this man continued to surprise. He surprised when we had an election there just a year back. There were 45 empty seats in the parliament. The National League for Democracy, the party of Aung San Suu Kyi, had candidates for 44 of those seats, and they won in 43. Even in Naypyidaw, the new capital, where almost all the voters are government people. So we're at this strange place now in Burma where we have these 2 unlikely leaders. A woman who has been, there she is, who has been opposition leader for years and years and years, and now is a member of parliament, saying with great pride that she wants to be a politician. And that means she's going to be making some difficult choices. She's going to be displeasing people from time to time. And we have this president whom no one expected to be a reformer, who's continuing to make great, great changes. He canceled a big, very controversial Chinese-built dam in northern Burma. And the reason that he gave for this was, quote, the will of the people. And no one else had ever heard that as a justification for anything coming out of that government. Now, to be sure, there are a lot of challenges there left. There are ethnic groups that haven't found their way into the central fabric of that nation yet. Recently, there's been some very disturbing intra-religious fighting going on. But clearly, this is a country that has changed very, very much. And the world has recognized it. We have all kinds of international companies that are flowing in now. Foreign airlines are flying in much more. Hotel rates have gone up. Civil society has certainly grown very, very much. And VIA is back there. And I say back because this has been VIA's most under-the-radar post. Actually, we've been there during a number of the military years since 2006, but very, very quietly there. And it's only been since the country began to open up that VIA could really openly be there. We now have 6 wonderful, wonderful people there. 2 of them working on relief programs, one with Relief International, one with International Rescue Committee, one with an interesting organization providing the government help with democratization, and the others teaching some of the fine young people that you would find there. VIA has been in there recently in another way, too. We started bringing alumni in there a couple of years ago with these alumni tours. First in 2009, Tim Clark led the program in 2012, and he's going to have another program there in in June of this current year. And it's been fascinating just watching these VIA alumni there, coming there with all their previous background in Southeast Asia, and then coming with their life experience and seeing this country that is so open to change, so needy, and yet so exciting at this particular time. My example number one is Brad Palmquist. Brad got his BA in philosophy here, got a PhD from Berkeley in political science, somewhere picked up a computer science degree, taught political science at Harvard and Vanderbilt for many years, and then 8 years ago came back here to Silicon Valley to work with a startup that does a very sophisticated job of public opinion analysis. Well, Brad, with this computer and poli-sci background, goes to Burma with the VIA group in June, and he sees that with all these new international companies coming in, there's going to be tremendous need for software there. And that software is either going to be outsourced to Bangalore or Singapore or Bangkok, or it's going to be the basis of a new industry. There are a lot of white-collar jobs that people very desperately need. Brad, why don't you come up and tell the rest of this story?
Thanks, Dwight. One thing that's happening right away, of course, is that foreign companies, both Asian and global, are moving into Burma already, investing. And it's clear that no matter what the path of development takes, there will be this growing need for IT experts, for software developers. And the country just doesn't have enough right now. We might expect in normal circumstances that a university system could fill the gap. In the short run, that's just not possible. That system has been gutted over the last 15 years by neglect, but also by design. And so when I got back from the trip last year, I was reflecting on this and thinking, gee, isn't there some other model, some other path to developing the skills that are needed? And it occurred to me that in the high-tech companies that I've been part of, some of the most competent, skilled programmers didn't learn their craft in a formal academic setting, but they learned it from other programmers, collaborating both in person and on the net. And in particular, there's an institution called a co-working site or a hub, or sometimes it's called a hacker space, hacker in the good sense. And so this model occurred to me that maybe this is something that could be done in Yangon. In November, Dwight and I went back. We met with members of the software industry, and I think it's fair to say that we got an enthusiastic response from virtually every person we spoke to. And so we decided to go ahead. In just the last couple months, with help from other VIA friends, Tim Clark, Penny Stroud, Cliff Chan, and most importantly, with a really terrific group of committed local Burmese partners, we've opened up what we call DevSpace. We've got the space, it's been rented, it's been renovated, we have some of the fastest internet in the whole country, and we're just starting to recruit members. The hope is that by importing this small bit of Silicon Valley institutional infrastructure that we can help facilitate skill development, network formation, and even small Burmese owned enterprises. We have at the moment a terrific, very young manager, a student that Dwight and I met at the pre-collegiate program in Yangon, who himself is a web developer, and he is doing just a bang-up job in getting this thing off the ground. In the future, we'll hope that if this is a true success, it'll be the members of the DevSpace itself who will really lead it into the future, and we can step aside. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. So can you see why once more VIA is in the right place at the right time? Keep in mind that VIA has this history of getting into countries very, very early. Indonesia in 1968, China in 80, Vietnam in 90, Laos in 95, and now there. To return to my first point, as we all know, being small, being private, being entrepreneurial gives you advantages. Thank you very much.